the Middle-Aged Nerd, and I'm here today to talk to you about a new card game hot off the press, The Binding of Isaac: Four Souls. This card game was a successful Kickstarter, and I believe as of this filming, it is now in retail. If it's not, it will be extremely soon. So this card game is based off a very successful video game that's I think about 7 or 8 years old now. This is a style of video game called rogue-like. And what this is a video game where you essentially die a whole lot. You go through a randomly generated dungeon, and you get randomly generated loot, randomly generated enemies. Every single time that you play this game, it's a different experience. The game starts off with Isaac, and his mother is watching too many televangelists on TV, and she decides that God is talking to her and saying that she has to kill her son, Isaac. So to escape his evil mother, he jumps through a trapdoor that he finds in his room, and it leads to the basement of their house, which for some reason is enormous and filled with horrific and terrible monsters. That is where the game starts, and every single time that you play the game, it is a different layout for the dungeons. It is different layouts for loot. Everything is different each time, and you have different characters that you unlock. So you start off pretty weak as Isaac. The more you play, you'll eventually unlock different characters. You'll unlock new and better loot that will start showing up more and more frequently. You get better and better. But it's a little bit of a grind. It's a wonderful grind. I love it. My son loves it. My friends love it. And they translated that style of game with the frequent deaths and the random generation into a card game that is wonderful to play. So when you start this card game, you're going to be a different character. Here is Azazel, and she starts out with this ability, Lord of the Pit, which is cancel any attack on a monster that player may attack again this turn. So you can use this card in a variety of ways. You can cancel an attack that you do if you die. You can cancel an attack that your opponents do if they're successful. Or maybe they're going to die and you say, hey, I'll trigger Lord of the Pit if you give me 5 cents. So that's essentially the characters. Here's the Forgotten. The Forgotten gets the bone. And this is put a counter on this, remove a counter, and add 1 to a dice roll. Remove 2 counters, you deal a damage to a monster or player. Remove 3 counters. This loses all ability and becomes a soul. So that's that ability. You draw these characters at random before the game. The instructions tell you to shuffle, draw a character, and that is who you are. Sometimes we'll play where you shuffle, draw 3 characters, pick the one you like the most. You can always house rule that a little bit. It's fun to just pick a random character, and that's what you get stuck with. But it's also fun to kind of pick who you want to be. So you pick your character and you start going through this dungeon. You're fighting monsters, which is this deck. You're getting loot, which is this deck. You're buying treasure, which is this deck. And as you go through, you get better and better and better. You fight more and more monsters. The first person to kill, I shouldn't say kill. The first person to acquire 4 souls wins the game. There's souls come in a variety of different cards. You have the Soul of Gluttony, so this is the first player to have 10 or more loot cards in their hand. This is the first player to control 2 or more Guppy items, and there's different items that are taken from Guppy, which is your household cat. You can get his tail, his head, his paws, some other stuff. The Soul of Greed, the first player to have 25 cents or more gains this soul. In addition to that, as you're fighting monsters, you'll run into monsters that are worth souls. So this is Mega Fatty. He's worth 1 soul, and you get to loot 2. So the way that this works is, let's say Mega Fatty is the monster you have to kill. You need to roll a 3, 4, 5, or 6. So let's roll. I get a 5. I hit him once. So he goes from 3 to 2 hit points. You can keep track with the D8, the 8-sided dice, which they included. He's down to 2 hit points. I hit him again for a 5. He's now down to 1 hit point. And then I would hit him, hopefully, one more time. I hit him 5. I now killed Mega Fatty. He's mine. It says I loot 2, so I get to keep 2 loot cards. I get a soul card, and Mega Fatty is no more. Now, if I would have rolled a 1 or a 2, he would have attacked me and gotten 1 damage. And then this also says each time he deals damage to me, he heals 1. So he's a little challenging, not the worst card, and he's worth a soul. The first person to get 4 souls will win the game. When you start off, you put 2 cards out here, and then you have this stack. Now, I don't know what's in this stack. I do know I have these 2 bad guys. Now, I can do a couple things. I can do nothing and not attack anyone. I can attack one of these 2 monsters, or I can take my chance and attack whatever's here, which would be the Haunt. So this one is, each time this takes 2 damage, it gains 1 dice till the end of turn. So instead of needing a 4, I would now need a 5. So that's the Haunt. He's worth a soul, and you get a treasure. These are your treasures. Treasures are valuable artifacts you get throughout the game. For example, this is Ouija board. This is reveal the top 4 cards of the monster deck. You may play a non-monster card revealed this way, put the rest on the bottom of the deck. I've never seen this card before. There's so many treasures that as you're playing, you're getting new treasure that you could have played a dozen times and not seen. So the way the treasure works, there's 2 cards out here at all times. Sometimes you'll end up with 3 cards because of some effect or another. You can either buy one of these 2, or you can buy one from the top. You don't know what's on the top. It's going to be random. It's going to cost you 10 cents. But let's say you don't want these 2. You could buy this. This is Daddy Haunt. This is not the best card ever. This is awful. Each time you take damage, take an additional 1 damage. When you die before playing penalties, give this card to another player. So this is like a curse that's going to go to the next player, the next player. I would never buy this card because it's awful, but it's going to be fun to play. A couple other monsters we got here. This is Mom. So this is the arch villain in the video game, and this deals double damage on a roll of 1. When she dies, expand the number of active monsters by 1. So if you defeat Mom, instead of having 2 monsters out, you have 3, which is an advantage because you have 3 different monsters you can choose from to attack, or pick the top card here. If you kill her, she's worth 1 treasure, which is one of these. She's worth 2 souls. Again, you need 4 souls to win the game. The treasures here are massive. So first thing, when you unbox this, you're going to see just a unbelievable, massive amount of cards. So between the loot cards, which you have, the treasure cards, and the monster cards, this is a huge stack. So that's great because you're going to constantly be playing a different game every single time. You're never going to play the same game twice unless you play it 5,000 times. It's almost like they rolled the game and an expansion into one. Nice cards, fairly sturdy, typical playing card stock. The pennies are used for currency. These are really cool. They look great. They have the devil's pentagram on one side and a little cent sign on the other. They come in a little bag, which is cool. With the Kickstarter, I don't believe this is in stores, but you get the Isaac stickers, which are beautiful. They look just like the video game. You get this horrific, terrifying postcard, which I guess Isaac sent to his family as he's being tortured and eaten in his basement. He took time to send them a postcard, which is nice of him. Here you have stained glass sticker, which looks like Isaac, and it's stained glass, and then this cool pin. In the video game, his tears are the weapon, so he cries and shoots tears at the bad guys. My son is with me here. He's running the camera. He's going to come over, and he's going to talk about some of his favorite characters. So Logan, who's your favorite character to play as?
My favorite character, I have 2.
Okay.
One is the Forgotten.
So he likes the Forgotten. Who's the other one?
This one can be good, but can also be bad.
Uh-huh.
Eden.
Eden. So you got the Forgotten, and you have Eden. So the way that this would work, let's say he draws the Forgotten, you would find the bone. So starting item is the bone. And then Eden is an unusual one. She says, when you start the game, look at the top 3 cards of the treasure deck, choose one, it becomes your starting item. So with her, or him. I'm not even sure what the
Yeah.
gender is. I would draw these three. I got the Eye of Greed, I got Polaroid camera, picture, and then I got the map. So I would read these abilities. I would decide which one of these I would want to play. So if you're Eden, Logan, and you can do, when anyone rolls a 5, gain 3 cents.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. The Polaroid is if you have 0 loot cards in your hand at the end of your turn, loot 2.
That's also really good. Pretty good.
That is pretty good. And then you have the map. At the end of your turn, look at the top 4 cards of the monster deck. You may put them back in any order. This is good because you could put a horrifically bad monster on the top for your friends, or you could put a super easy one. They have no idea what you put up there.
And you could also show them if you're doing a deal with them.
That's true.
Hey.
You could say, hey, I got this card. Here's the 4 monsters. Do you want an easy one? I'll put it on top if you give me 2 cents. Maybe there's a monster that's worth loot 2. Well, you wouldn't want to give a Mega Fatty because that's a soul. Let's say, okay, here we go. Let's go Boomfly. So you could show them Boomfly. Say, hey, this is worth 4 cents. I'll put this on top. You give me 1 penny. You keep the other 3. You can do that in this game. It lets you kind of barter and deal with other players. And what that allows you to do is kind of play the game however you want. The rules are really kind of there as a rough guideline that tell you how the cards and the money and so forth interact in the turn order. How you play the game is totally up to you. You can befriend other players. You can attack other players. You can backstab former allies. You can make new allies out of enemies. The last time we played, my son Logan, who's with me, mid-game, wave at the camera. There's his hand.
Hi.
Mid-game, he befriended my friend Danielle, who is engaged to my other friend that was there, Dan, and it turned into Logan and Danielle versus me and Dan, and at one point in the game, nobody cared who won. We just wanted one side to win. So you can play like that. And then midway through that, I could have said, you know what, I'm going to stab my friend Dan in the back, and I'm going to take over, and then I'm going to win the game at the very end. So you can do this any way you want. The game's very competitive. It is a little aggressive at times. You should have good friends with you that don't get hurt feelings, because you can hurt other people's feelings pretty easily. The components are very nice. The card stock is very nice. It's very typical card stock, nothing special. But they're sturdy. They are starting to bend up a little bit at the corners. We've probably played it, 7 or 8 times maybe. It's getting a little banged up, but not bad. I don't do anything to protect my cards. I don't put them in sleeves. You can do that, of course. The pennies are very nice. I love the pennies. I love the little bag. I love all the components that came with it. One thing I really like is the Bible motif that comes with this game. And again, Isaac, Bible story, this kind of sticks with that motif. So some of the cards have these great Bible quotes that kind of give character to the monsters. So this is the Leech, and this says, we will take no rest till he was made a meal of those he was overcome, drinking the blood of those he has put to death. And this is a blood-sucking leech, and that's from Numbers 23:24. This is Fatbat. He says, who are these that fly like a cloud, like doves to their windows? Isaiah 68. So that, they don't all have this, but some of them do. They're really fun. I love this one, Fatty. For those who take delight in drink and feasting shall become poor. Proverbs. So, they're funny. They're cute. They line themselves up with the characters. They really put a lot of thought into this game. Most of these treasures and loot and so forth are in the video game, but making them interact, it's fairly well balanced. It can get a little crazy. Like any card game like this, as you hit the mid game or the late game, you tend to have 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 treasures in front of you. There's a lot of interactions. Things are interacting with other things, and other things are interacting with other things, and other players are interacting with your items. So, the game kind of, the turns take longer the deeper you get into the game. The last thing I want to mention is how the items themselves work. So I'll just take one at random here. Holy Mantle. If a player would die, prevent death, and end that player's turn. So when you trigger this, so the card's sitting like this in front of you, when you trigger it, you turn it sideways. At the start of your next turn, you would turn it back and kind of recharge it. So the way this works, you can trigger it on your turn, while you're playing. So if you die, you can doom and protect yourself from death. Or maybe your buddy dies and you say, hey, give me 2 cents. I'll trigger Holy Mantle and you won't die. So you can barter this ability. And a lot of the cards have this little arrow where you turn them. Some of them are one-time use, like these loot cards. So this is gain 2 cents. So you play that, you get 2 pennies, and that card is gone. Same with that. Some of the loot cards are they last throughout the whole game. You put them in front of you, and so forth. The cards are easy to understand. There's nothing in here that I've read that I go, oh, I don't understand how this works. They're all very well written and easy to understand, which is important. So this one, destroy this. Destroy any monster, player, item, or soul card. That's very powerful. Maybe you have 3 souls. You need 1 more to win. Mom pops up. You trigger Chaos card, kill Mom, end the game. Easy cheesy. Now somebody may have a card that says cancel an effect. So then you lose your card, they lose their card, and so forth. Really, the rules of the game are listed in the cards, so that's going to tell you how to play. Overall, I love this game. What do you think, Logan? Do you like this game?
Yeah, I like this game.
Do you have any negative things to say about the game?
No.
No negatives.
I really don't.
He really doesn't. I have very little negative to say about it. You need to play it with the right group of people because it can get extremely competitive. And I could see some feelings getting hurt, which is, the nature of games sometimes. The components are great. It really holds well and true to the video game. The components, just nice, good quality, for what you would expect. The cards are nice. The pennies are nice. I love the little bag that the pennies come in. I love the artwork. I love the Bible sayings on there. Everything's really nice. It's laid out well. I feel like you get a lot of value for what you get with the game. So that's my review. I would highly recommend this. If you're a fan of the video game, just pick this up. Just buy it. Just play this. You're not going to go wrong. If you love good, deep, strategic card games, get it. It's good and deep and strategic. I can't really say anything negative about the game. Maybe the cards could be a little thicker and sturdier, but you know what? That's being picky. I love the game. This is a game we're going to bring to the table for years and years to come. I can't really think of anything wrong with it. It is a little luck-based, so if you like luck game, or if you don't like luck-based games, that would be a question with that. So, anyways, that's my review. This is the Middle-Aged Nerd. Check out my channel for other great content. We're going to be reviewing board games, and we are also going to have a whole section and playlist devoted strictly to Dungeons and Dragons, tips for players, tips for DMs. So check that out. Click subscribe, like the video, click the bell icon to get notified when we do new videos. We're going to be releasing content on a fairly regular basis. Anyways, I'm going to go watch some football, have some brunch with my family. You guys take care. Thanks for joining us. Middle-Aged Nerds signing out.